Hello there everyone, and welcome to another UXW Bill product review. As with many of my other product reviews, this one also happens to be sponsored. However, just to be perfectly clear, I only ever accept products for review if I am allowed to be completely honest with regard to my findings about them. So you can rest assured that I will tell you exactly how it happens to be, to the best of my capability and in line with the usage scenario that I have for the particular item that we'll be reviewing today. What is that? Well, it is the TopTes Tools model number CT-300 carbon monoxide detector. Now, one of the things that I do not have access to, another thing I want to clear up just so you won't think that I'm leading you on, I do not have access to any sort of a precision carbon monoxide reference. So I cannot speak to the accuracy of this detector's parts per million display. I can only give you a relative idea of how well it works by itself and also when compared against a couple other detectors that I also happen to own. So if you're looking for some exact performance metrics on this TopTes instrument, you're going to have to find another video review. I don't know if there's anyone out there that has attempted to do something like that, but if someone finds one, they're certainly welcome to mention it in the comments. Let's go ahead and pop the box open here and just see what we get. The tester itself comes in a nice, somewhat hard-shelled case. This has a zipper around the periphery, so you can just open it and then flip the lid over. There's also a nice little strap, so you can carry it by hand. And of course, TopTes also provides a user manual for the CT-300. And it is here that I would definitely like to give them some kudos, because I have mentioned in the past that I thought their user manuals would benefit from being written by someone with a better command of the languages that they are written in. And it appears that they may have taken this to heart, because while I can only speak for the English version of the manual, it does appear to be very well written and pretty clear throughout its entirety. There's a few places where it gets a little weird, but nothing like their previous manuals. So definitely some kudos to them. There's a nice picture of the tester on the front. It's here that I'll point out, even though very few people probably care, that there is at least one unused character in the display. I don't know what its purpose is, and I believe it to be completely unused in this particular tester. It is the indication that reads halogen. I will ask TopTes what the purpose of that is. Maybe it's for some kind of calibration routine. If they get back to me, I will certainly update the video description accordingly. Now, as with any tester that you use to find the presence of dangerous and deadly gases, you want to make sure that you have the right tester for the job. I oftentimes see people conflate the terms carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide in other YouTube comments, sometimes even other videos, and certainly in other places on the World Wide Web. It is vitally important that you know the correct gas that you're looking for and that you have the right detector to find it. So if you want to find carbon monoxide, this is the product that you're looking for. If you want to find carbon dioxide, you will need another detector. Let's go ahead and open this up. I'll show you what else they include. Of course, you get the tester itself. You also get some Duracell batteries that have been packed in, so you can get started right away. I have no doubt that these are 100% genuine batteries. Duracell actually maintains a factory in China where these tools are made, so that original equipment manufacturers can pack them in very quickly and easily with their product. There's also a nice little mesh net here in the case. You could probably store some extra batteries in there if you felt that you needed them. Unfortunately, the user's manual will not actually fit in the case, so you'll have to keep it separate from the tool, unless of course you want to try to fold it over and get it to fit in there that way, which I definitely would not recommend. So let's go ahead and pop the battery cover off of this and get ready to start testing it. Just have to unscrew it here. It's a single small Phillips screw. It is not a captive screw. It can actually get away, and I'm thinking that before this is over I will probably have managed to drop it on the floor, and that will screw up the perfect nature of this video so far. No, it's not really perfect, but it's not too bad for what it is. Also consider what you paid to watch it too, which hopefully wasn't very much. And if it was, you should definitely get your money back. Now, unlike other TopTes testers, see, there I go. Not worth paying to watch this video. Unlike other TopTes testers in this same form factor that I have examined in the past, they used a slightly different liquid crystal display here. This is the normal type, where when the segments display, they actually turn dark in color, as opposed to the inverted type, where there's a continual backlight and the segments actually illuminate when they are activated. I am told by the manual that this displays in multiple colors of backlighting depending upon the concentration of carbon monoxide in the area where you are testing. It is also vitally important with any of these testers that you start them up and allow them to initialize in an area where you know that the air is clear of the gas that you are trying to detect. Otherwise, the sensor will register the current level of gas that you're looking for as the background level, and you won't find it, which could expose you to danger or even give you a false sense of security. So there we go. I've turned the tester on. It's going through an initialization period and getting ready to operate. And now it would appear to be ready to operate. Now, as always with other TopTes testers, the cover over the sensor can be removed, and this sensor can actually be taken out and replaced. However, I do not see any evidence that TopTes Tools actually sells replacement sensors. Granted, these are not expensive tools. Maybe the sensor would cost as much as the tool itself does by the time it's available as a separate item, if it ever becomes available. But again, I would say, as I have said with their testers in the past, I would love to see them offer the replacement sensors, because that way you can greatly extend the useful lifetime of this tool and keep yet another item out of the e-waste collection bin. So with this all powered up, we're about ready to go testing for carbon monoxide. The test that I am going to engage in, I strongly do not recommend that you attempt, because you can end up poisoning and ruining the sensor in your carbon monoxide detector. I am going to pair up the CT-300 against not only a Klein Tools ET110. I honestly have not been very happy with the Klein Tools product. This is a rebadged Unitrend meter, and what the Unitrend manual tells us that the Klein Tools manual unfortunately does not is that you cannot make reliable measurements with this pointing any way other than straight up. It will give you false detections, and that is the last thing in the world you want a tester designed to find a colorless, odorless, poisonous gas to do, is give you any question about whether or not that gas is actually present. And then rounding out the contestants here, we also have a Fieldpiece SCM4. I haven't had this for very long. I actually bought this secondhand, but supposedly unused. The detector was still wrapped up and had yet to be installed, so I really don't have any strong feelings about this one way or the other. Now, let's go make a test. Are you ready for the great unveiling of my carbon monoxide testing source? I figured you probably were. There it is. Good old Naughty Truck. I'm sure Naughty Truck emits at least some carbon monoxide, anytime it's running anyway. As for the rest of the test, well, I thought long and hard about how to do this, which isn't actually true at all, because if I'd have done that, I would have gotten a headache, and then I would have gone off to sleep and said the heck with this malarkey, and you wouldn't actually be watching this video. But I did rub at least two of the neurons I still have together, and I decided to go ahead and take a 25-foot tape measure. I pulled out 20 feet of tape, and I ran that clear over to the exhaust pipe on Naughty Truck, and even though I've owned Naughty Trucks since about late 2012 or thereabouts, I actually had to think about which side the tailpipe exited on. It's only got a single exhaust pipe, unlike some. It's funny, the things that you witness every day and you just pay them absolutely no mind, and then when you realize you need to know them, you've actually got to go and check. But anyway, folks, here's the testing methodology so far. We'll turn all of these testers on. I believe I should be far enough away, especially out here in the great outdoors, that biasing the sensors from any background pollution that's produced by Naughty Truck should be a non-issue. We'll of course turn the Klein Tools tester on. and it wants to do a big countdown before it's ready to use. Well, sometimes it does. Sometimes it makes you wait almost 3 minutes. But in this case, it did not. So everybody's up and running. We'll just go ahead and do this one tester at a time at first, and then I'll try to do all 3, like I've got enough hands to actually do something like that. So before the mosquitoes eat me to pieces, let's go over here with the TopTes and get started. We're here at 20 feet. The display is still green. There's no reading of any background level of carbon monoxide. This thing seemingly alarms first at 50 parts per million and then subsequently at 500. The display backlighting also turns color. Now, some of the buttons that you can press on this to change its mode of operation, the APO button turns off the automatic power off, so the tester will stay on for as long as the batteries will support it. You can see there's a little time clock symbol that disappeared up there. The settings button allows you to specify the thresholds of detection if you want to change them from the default 50 and 500. The speaker button turns off the audible alarm, and then the hold button, which you should use with great care, freezes the current reading. Make sure that you don't forget that you've turned that on, and then walk into an area where there may be substantial concentrations of carbon monoxide, because if you're holding the reading, this thing won't be able to tell you. So we'll start out here at 20 feet, and we'll just work our way closer, and we'll see if we get a detection along the way. I believe one of the tips for successful video making is not to point your camcorder at the ground. Well, I blew that one all to pieces. Okay, we're here at 5 feet, and we're still not reading anything. I do not recommend this test. TopTes does in their user's manual, but you have to be very careful when you do something like this, because you can poison and ruin your carbon monoxide sensor, and then it wouldn't be there to warn you in future. We're still reading nothing, so we'll go to 3 feet in. Still no reading. So we'll try dropping down a little closer to the ground, see if we get anything. I really don't want to give this thing too much of a snoot full of tailpipe for the aforementioned reason and concern of ruining the sensor. We're not getting anything so far. Now we're 2 feet away, and it's more or less directly in line with the tailpipe at this point, and I'm still not getting much of a reading. So we'll go to 1 foot. I can actually feel the gas being discharged from the tailpipe at this point. I'm still not getting a reading. That's a little concerning to me. There we go. Got about a 6 ppm reading, the 9, 32. Now it's starting to get upset. I really don't want to ruin this thing, but at the same time, I gotta admit, its sensitivity definitely seems a little bit lacking. I would have expected that the average sensor would go off much sooner than that. So we'll try the much maligned Klein tools, and we'll see how it does. We're at 14 feet, 9 feet. Maybe my expectations were unrealistic, because here we are at 3 feet, and we'll drop down a little bit. Go to 2 feet. Now we're at 1 foot. Again, I can feel the gas coming out of the tailpipe. Wouldn't it be something if this one had just stopped working? I'm not getting any reading out of this. That's not a good sign. Even when I held it up to the tailpipe there, nothing. I think this one is supposed to tell you if the sensor has failed, but it didn't. And now we'll try the last entry in the roundup, that being the field piece. We'll start out at 20 feet. Down to 4 feet now. And now we're at 1 foot away. So I guess one thing that might come to mind here, maybe Naughty Truck's exhaust is actually a good deal cleaner than I thought, which would definitely come as a surprise. But it does appear that the TopTes and the field piece meters were pretty close to one another. And the Klein tools, like I say, I've never really been happy with this. I don't know that it's working right. It's several years old, and maybe the sensor finally expired. I don't know. Now it's time for me to give you the bottom line. And in truth, I think the bottom line here is that I need to come up with a better testing methodology. But I think that the TopTes CT-300 is certainly something that you should consider buying if you are in the market for a carbon monoxide detector. Maybe even if you plan to buy a much higher end product, get one of these to throw in your tool bag as a backup. This is a very inexpensive tool, and I think TopTes would certainly stand behind it if you had any issues for the duration of their limited warranty. Anytime I have communicated with them, they have always been responsive. Granted, I will qualify that a bit by saying I've also been asking questions about review product, and they certainly know well enough that they ought to answer those and not wait around, because that would definitely factor in to my review. So there it is, folks, the bottom line. I think I need to come up with a better testing methodology than I did. That's something that I'll work on for a future video. I don't know when I'll get to it. But as far as this tester goes, I do think that it could be a decent buy and that it should be reasonably accurate for everyday use or however often that you happen to need it. I would definitely like to see TopTes start offering replacement sensors for all of their gas and gas leak detection products. I think that would be a very considerable improvement. So as always, thank you for watching. I'm certainly interested in hearing your constructive commentary.